The small ship drifted through the asteroid field like a ghost. Inside the cockpit, checked his instruments one last time. The mining colony ahead looked dead. No lights, no heat signatures, just dark metal and stone floating in the void. "I still think this is a bad idea," said. Her voice came through the implant in his skull, clear as if she stood beside him. She didn't have a body, though. Was an AI, his only companion for the past 3 years. "It's always a bad idea," replied. His hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. "But sent that beacon. She wouldn't call unless it mattered." The colony grew larger in his viewport. BR 447, they called it. Once, 3,000 miners worked here, pulling rare metals from the asteroid's core. Then the war started and everyone left. Now it was just another piece of space junk. His eyes narrowed. Something felt wrong. The colony was too quiet, too empty. In 3 years of running, hiding, and fighting, he'd learned to trust his instincts. His instincts were screaming at him now. "Scanning for life signs," said. A pause. "Nothing. The station is completely empty." "Then who sent the distress beacon?" "Unknown. The signal matches Captain's authorization codes perfectly, but I'm detecting some strange interference patterns around the colony. It could be." The console lit up red. His blood went cold. "Ships," shouted, 6 of them eeing around us. Massive vessels appeared from nowhere, surrounding him like wolves around wounded prey. Recognized the design immediately. Empire warships. Each one carried enough firepower to level a city. "Attention, human vessel." The voice that boomed through his speakers was harsh and clicking. "This is Commander of the Imperial Fleet. You are surrounded. Power down your engines and surrender." His jaw tightened. His hands flew across the controls. The ship lurched forward, racing toward the mining colony. "They found us," said, her voice tight with worry. "After all this time, they finally found us." Plasma fire streaked past his ship, twisted and turned, using the asteroids for cover. More shots. One clipped his rear shields. Alarms blared. "Shields at 60%, reported." "I'm going in," said. He aimed his ship straight at the colony's main hangar. The bay doors were closed, but that wouldn't stop him. "That's insane." "I know." He armed his forward weapons and fired. The doors exploded inward. His ship shot through the opening, scraping metal as it went. He hit the reverse thrusters hard. The ship spun and crashed into the hangar floor with a screech of tearing metal. Grabbed his rifle and ran. Behind him, his ship's reactor started to overheat. In 30 seconds, it would explode. He made it to the interior door just as the blast wave hit. The explosion sealed the hangar behind him, buying him precious time. "That was your only way off this rock," said. "I know." Moved through the dark corridors, his rifle up and ready. Emergency lights flickered, giving everything a red glow. "How long until they board?" "Already boarding. I'm detecting at least 200 shock troopers entering through multiple breach points." Allowed himself a grim smile. He'd fought before. 3 years ago, he destroyed one of their research stations and freed hundreds of human prisoners. The Empire had been hunting him ever since. They called him the Ghost Soldier. Some called him worse things. He ran deeper into the colony, his boots echoing in the empty halls. Behind him, he heard the chittering calls of soldiers. They were inside now, hunting him through the maze of corridors. "I need a defensible position." The central mining chamber. It's in the heart of the complex, only 3 access points. I can seal 2 of them. "Do it." Sprinted through the colony. He passed empty dormitories where miners once slept, cafeterias with tables bolted to the floor, a medical bay with equipment still sitting on shelves, all abandoned in the rush to evacuate 3 years ago. Weapons fire erupted behind him. They had spotted him. Didn't return fire, he just ran. Energy bolts hit the walls around him, leaving scorch marks and molten metal. He reached the central chamber and dove through the door, sealed it behind him with a heavy clang. The chamber was enormous, stretching up into darkness. Giant drilling equipment sat silent and still. Catwalks crisscrossed overhead. Perfect. Climbed to the highest catwalk and set up his position. He checked his rifle, his ammunition, his grenades. Not much, but it would have to do. "They're sealing off the exits," reported. "All of them, you can't get out." "I know." "The entire battle group is in position around the colony. 6 cruisers. You're completely trapped." "I know." A long silence, then asked quietly, "Did you know this was a trap when we came here?" Didn't answer right away. He thought about Captain, his old commander. He thought about the distress beacon with her codes. He thought about 3 years of running and hiding. "Yeah," he finally said, "I knew." "Then why did you come?" Before he could answer, Commander's voice boomed through the colony's speaker system. The alien had hacked into the communications network. "Ghost soldier," the commander said. "After 3 years we finally have you. There is no escape. Surrender now and I promise you a quick death. Resist and we will make your suffering legendary." Checked his rifle one more time. Down below he heard the sound of cutting torches on the sealed doors. They were coming. "You didn't answer my question," said softly. "Why did you come if you knew it was a trap?" Settled into his position behind a support beam. His eyes were cold and hard in the red emergency light. His voice was quiet when he spoke. "Because Captain wouldn't send a false beacon. Someone intercepted her message and changed it, which means she's still out there, still in danger. And if they are here, waiting for me," he paused, "then they're not wherever she really is." The first door burst open. Soldiers poured through, their insect-like bodies moving with frightening speed. They spread out across the chamber floor, searching for him in the darkness above. Raised his rifle and took aim. His finger rested on the trigger. "Besides," he whispered, "I've been in worse situations." The first shot echoed through the chamber like thunder. 72 hours. 3 days since had shot the first soldier. 3 days of fighting, hiding, and surviving in the dark corridors of the mining colony. The bodies were starting to pile up. "That makes 40, said as another fell from his catwalk, crashing to the floor far below. 40 of their soldiers dead. They're getting angry." Reloaded his rifle in the darkness. His hands moved by memory now. He'd been in this position so long he could do everything blind. Good. Angry enemies make mistakes. But they weren't stupid. After losing so many soldiers in direct assaults, they'd changed tactics. Now they were trying to force him out. The lights had gone off completely 12 hours ago. The heat followed 6 hours after that. Could see his breath now in the freezing air. His fingers were numb inside his gloves. "Oxygen levels dropping," reported. "They've sealed off the ventilation system. At current rates, you have maybe 30 hours of breathable air left." Said nothing. He moved to a new position, careful not to make noise. They had heat sensors, but had learned to use the cold machinery around him as cover. He was just another cold object in a forest of metal. A new voice came through the speaker system, not Commander this time. This voice was softer, almost gentle. That made it worse somehow. "Human," the voice said. "I am High Inquisitor. I wish to speak with you." Kept moving, kept silent. "You fight well," continued. 40 of our finest warriors dead. Impressive for one human, but you must know this is meaningless. We have thousands more. You have. What? Perhaps a dozen magazines for your rifle, a handful of grenades. Found a good hiding spot behind some old drilling equipment. He settled in to wait. "Your own people have abandoned you," said. 3 years ago your government declared you dead. No memorial, no honors. They erased you from their records as if you never existed. That part was true. Had learned that painful lesson long ago. The unit you belonged to, these Reapers, they were disbanded. Declared too dangerous, too violent. Your own species feared what you'd become. And Captain, the woman you think sent that beacon," paused for effect. She was the one who signed the order to disband your unit. His jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. Don't engage, don't give them anything. You fight for people who don't want you, continued. Die for a species that cast you aside. Why? For honor, for duty. Those are just words, human, pretty lies we tell ourselves. The speaker went silent, waited, counting his heartbeats. Outside the chamber he heard movement. They were preparing another assault. Whispered, your heart rate is elevated, don't let him get to you. I'm fine. You're not fine, you haven't slept in 3 days, you've been wounded twice. Your body is shutting down. I said I'm fine. A memory surfaced, unwanted. 5 years ago, before everything went wrong, stood in a briefing room with the other Reapers. 12 men and women, the best of the best. Captain at the front giving them their orders. This is a black operation, she'd said. No records, no support. If you're captured, the government will deny you exist. If you die, no one will know. But the mission matters. The people you'll save matter. They'd all nodded. They'd all accepted, because that's what Reapers did. The mission had gone wrong, spectacularly wrong. They'd been set up, sent into a trap. Only and 3 others survived. And when they got home, instead of a welcome, they got suspicion. Questions, accusations. The Reapers were too effective, the politicians said. Too dangerous. Too hard to control. So they disbanded the unit, scattered the survivors, and pretended they'd never existed. Captain had fought against it, remembered that much. But in the end, she'd signed the papers because she'd been ordered to, because she was a soldier and soldiers follow orders. Movement, said suddenly. Multiple contacts, all 3 entrances. Snapped back to the present. He moved to a position where he could watch all 3 doors at once. His rifle felt heavy in his hands. 3 days of constant fighting had taken its toll. The doors burst open simultaneously. Soldiers poured in, but these ones were different. Bigger, heavily armored, moving with precision. Elite warriors. That's Orr said. They're combat specialists. They're sending in the best they have. Aimed and fired. His shot took down the first soldier, then the second, but there were so many. He dropped a grenade from the catwalk. The explosion scattered them but didn't stop them. They were climbing now, coming up the support structures toward his position. Fast, too fast. Fell back, firing as he went. His magazine ran dry. He reloaded, but his cold fingers fumbled. The magazine dropped, clattering on the metal catwalk. He grabbed his last one, slammed it home. Pain exploded in his shoulder. An energy bolt had hit him. Stumbled, caught himself on the railing. The world spun. His voice seemed far away. Your vitals are dropping, you need to. Another bolt hit his leg, went down. His rifle clattered away, falling into the darkness below. He tried to stand but couldn't. His body wouldn't respond. They surrounded him, weapons pointed at his head, or approached slowly, his 4 eyes gleaming in the darkness. Finally, the alien said in broken human speech, the ghost dies. His vision blurred. He slumped against the wall, his head hanging down. His breathing was shallow, rapid. Through the implant, he could hear calling his name, but he couldn't respond. Or reached for him, ready to claim his prize. That's when things changed. His voice suddenly came through the colony's speaker system, not panicked now, cold, calculating, almost frightening. Protocol Osiris activated 71 hours ago. Or froze. Around him, the other shifted nervously. What is Protocol Osiris? Or demanded. The speakers crackled, then spoke again, and there was something in her voice that made even the hardened alien warriors step back. You're about to find out. Far below in the depths of the colony, something rumbled. The entire structure shook. Warning lights flickered on throughout the facility. Red, amber, red. On the command ship orbiting the colony, Commander stared at his sensors in growing horror. Sir, his sensor officer said, voice shaking, I'm reading massive power signatures from the lower levels. They're everywhere. The whole colony is lighting up like a star. What kind of power signatures? The officer checked his readouts again, not believing what he saw. Weapons, sir. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They're all coming online at once. Mandibles clicked together in sudden fear. Retreat, he ordered. All units fall back immediately. But in the central chamber, or couldn't hear the order. They had set up jamming fields around the colony to keep from calling for help. Now those same fields trapped them inside with something far worse than one wounded human. His eyes opened. They were clear now, focused. He hadn't been unconscious at all. He'd been syncing with the systems below, letting integrate his neural implant with the colony's defense network. He looked up at Or and smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "You wanted the ghost soldier," said quietly. "Let me show you why they call me Death." The first turret emerged from the wall like a predator awakening from sleep. Then another. And another. Within seconds, dozens of automated weapons systems revealed themselves throughout the central chamber, their targeting lasers painting red dots across every soldier. Or had 1 second to realize his mistake. Then the guns opened fire. The sound was deafening. Energy bolts and kinetic rounds filled the air. Soldiers scattered, trying to find cover, but there was nowhere to hide. The weapons tracked their every movement with cold precision. Remained slumped against the wall, his eyes closed. But he wasn't sleeping. He was seeing through dozens of cameras at once, feeling through hundreds of sensors, thinking through the facility's ancient computer core. Had integrated his neural implant into the colony's defense network. He wasn't just controlling the weapons. He had become the weapons. "All units report," Or shouted into his communicator. Only static answered. The jamming fields that had set up now worked against them. They couldn't coordinate, couldn't call for help, couldn't retreat. Opened his eyes and stood slowly. His wounds hurt, but the pain was distant, managed by his implant's medical systems. He walked calmly across the catwalk as chaos erupted around him. Bullets and energy bolts flew everywhere, but none came near him. The weapons knew where he was. They protected him while destroying everything else. Below, soldiers tried to reach the exits. Automated doors slammed shut in their faces. Those who tried to cut through met hidden turrets that emerged from the floor. The colony had been built by humans during the early war years, designed to be defended by minimal crew. Now it was a perfect killing machine, and was its mind. "Or is trying to reach the access shaft on level 3, reported. Her voice was calm, almost bored. She was processing millions of calculations per second, coordinating the defense grid. "Should I let him?" "No," said quietly. "Seal it. Vent the atmosphere in that section." The alien combat specialist never reached the shaft. Bulkheads dropped around him, and the air rushed out into space. His last transmission was a gurgling scream. On the command ship, watched his tactical display in horror. 300 soldiers had entered the colony. In less than 10 minutes, half were already dead. The others were trapped inside with no way out. "Fire on the colony," he ordered. "Destroy it." "Sir, our own troops are still inside." "They're already dead. Fire." The cruiser's main guns charged. Massive plasma cannons swiveled to target the mining colony. But before they could fire, warning alarms blared across the bridge. "Weapons lock," the tactical officer shouted. "Something's targeting us from the colony surface." Stared at his screens. Impossible. The mining colony was supposed to be abandoned, defenseless. But his sensors showed multiple weapons platforms rising from hidden bays across the asteroid's surface. Heavy plasma batteries, mass drivers, missile pods, enough firepower to level a small fleet. How did we not detect these? "They were offline, sir," his sensor officer said, voice shaking. "Completely powered down. Our scans showed them as inactive machinery, old mining equipment, but they're military-grade weapons hidden to look like civilian tech." Inside the colony, stood in the central control room now, his hands resting on the command console. Through the windows, he could see space and the ships hanging above like targets at a firing range. 71 hours, he said softly. That's how long it took to access everything and bring it all online. While they thought I was trapped, fighting for survival, I was really just buying time. A memory surfaced. 4 years ago, before the war turned bad for humanity, before the Great Retreat, a secret bunker deep inside a mountain, where and the other Reapers received their final briefing. A general stood at the front, his face grim. "The war isn't going well," he'd said. "We're losing territory every day. Eventually, we may have to abandon some of our colonies, but we're not leaving them defenseless." Images appeared on the screen behind him. Mining facilities, trading stations, refueling depots, ordinary civilian infrastructure, except it wasn't ordinary at all. "Protocol Osiris," the general continued. "We're hiding weapons caches in every facility we abandon, automated defense systems that look like mining equipment, weapons platforms disguised as communications arrays. If the enemy ever occupies these places, a single trained operator can activate everything and turn the facility into a fortress." Had thought it was brilliant, insane but brilliant. "Captain led the team that designed Protocol Osiris," the general said. "She personally oversaw the installation on 47 facilities. If we ever need to activate them, she'll know how." Now, standing in the control room, understood. Hadn't sent a distress beacon, but she had left him a message hidden in the trap, a message that told him exactly where to go, exactly what he'd find if he could survive long enough to access it. She'd known the would intercept any message she sent him, so she'd used that against them, turning their trap into his weapon. "Target the lead cruiser," said calmly. "Disable their engines and weapons, but don't destroy them. I want them to see what happens to the others." "Acknowledged," replied. The weapons platforms fired. Streams of plasma and kinetic projectiles lanced across space. The lead cruiser's shields flared and died. Secondary explosions rippled across its hull. Within seconds, the ship was drifting, powerless and helpless. "Target the next ship," ordered. Inside the command ship, watched his fleet die. The second cruiser tried to run. The weapons tracked it effortlessly, shredding its engines. The third attempted to return fire, but its weapons couldn't penetrate the asteroid's defensive fields. One by one, the mighty warships were reduced to floating scrap metal. "Broadcast on all frequencies," said. "Let everyone hear this." "Open the channel." His voice echoed across space, reaching every soldier still alive in the colony and every ship in the battle group. "You hunted me for 3 years," said. "You called me the ghost soldier. You thought you finally caught me, trapped me with nowhere to run. But you made a mistake. You thought I was hiding. You thought I was weak and desperate." Another cruiser exploded. Its reactor overloaded, sending debris spinning through space. "I wasn't hiding," continued, his voice cold and hard. "I was preparing. You didn't trap me in here with you. I trapped you in here with me. And now you're going to learn why humans survived the war, why we never stopped fighting even when we lost everything." The main weapon charged up, a massive mass driver that could punch through a planet's crust. It aimed at the fourth cruiser. "It's because we turn everything into a weapon," said. "Our homes, our ships, our bodies. There is no such thing as surrender, no such thing as a fair fight. We are the species that learned to turn entropy itself against our enemies." He paused, letting them think about that. "Now I'm going to give you one chance. Surrender your ships, release all human prisoners, leave this system and never come back. You have 60 seconds to comply." Silence filled the communication channels. Watched the countdown on his screen. 60 seconds, 59, 58. At 30 seconds, one ship powered down its weapons and shields. Then another. By 15 seconds, 5 of the 6 cruisers had surrendered. Only his command ship remained active. "Commander," said quietly, "you have 10 seconds." "You're one human," screamed. "One, we are an empire, we have armadas we will crush." 5 seconds. The masked driver locked onto his ship, the weapon charged to full power. "Wait," shouted. "We surrender, we surrender." The weapon powered down, allowed himself a small smile. Wise choice. The mining colony floated in space, surrounded by the wreckage of ambition. 5 cruisers drifted powerless, their crews trapped inside. The 6th cruiser's command ship sat with weapons powered down and shields offline. Around them all, debris from destroyed fighters and assault shuttles created a graveyard of metal and frozen bodies. Inside the control room stood watching the displays. His shoulder still hurt from the energy bolt. His leg throbbed, but he remained standing, refusing to show weakness. "Human fleet detected at the system's edge," reported. "IFF identifies them as friendly. They're requesting permission to approach." "Let them come," said, "but keep the weapons active. I don't trust anyone right now." Lieutenant Ara, a young officer, watched from her station on one of the surrendered cruisers. She'd been in the military for 6 years, fought in a dozen battles. She'd always believed in the Empire's superiority. We're stronger, faster, and more numerous than humans. Victory was inevitable. Then one human had destroyed everything she believed. "Lieutenant," her captain said quietly, "the human fleet is here. What do we do?" Ara looked at her screens. The human ships were smaller than cruisers, but there were many of them, and after what she'd witnessed, she knew numbers meant nothing. "We wait," she said. "We follow the ghost soldier's orders exactly." A large human battleship, the Defiant, moved into position near the colony. A shuttle launched from its bay and approached the mining facility. Inside that shuttle was Commander, leader of the human rapid response fleet. Was a career military officer. She'd fought through the entire war, losing friends and ships along the way. She'd heard stories about the Reapers, about specifically, stories that sounded impossible. Now she was about to meet him. The shuttle docked with the colony, and her security team moved through the corridors carefully. What they saw made even these hardened soldiers stop and stare. Bodies, dozens of them, soldiers killed by precision fire, walls covered with scorch marks and bullet holes, blast damage everywhere. This hadn't been a battle, it had been a massacre. "One man did this," a young soldier whispered. "One man and an AI," corrected, "and apparently an entire hidden weapons cache." They found in the control room. He stood with his back to them, watching the displays. His armor was damaged and burned. Blood stained his shoulder and leg, but he stood straight, radiating a dangerous calm. Commander said without turning around, "You're late." "We came as soon as we detected the battle," replied. "How did you?" She stopped, looking at the displays. They showed the weapons platforms, the defense systems, everything. Protocol Osiris, Captain's contingency plan. I thought those were just rumors. "They were very real," said, "and they just saved my life." Walked closer, studying the tactical displays. 6 cruisers, hundreds of soldiers, all defeated by one man. It seemed impossible, but the evidence was everywhere. "They are screaming for your head," said. "They're calling this an act of terrorism. They want you tried as a war criminal." "Let them scream," replied. "They set a trap for me. I just sprung it the other way." That's not how the politicians will see it. You've reignited tensions just when peace talks were starting to make progress. Finally turned to face her. His eyes were hard and cold. "Peace talks, while they still hold 300 human prisoners in their labor camps, while they raid our outer colonies and take whatever they want, that's not peace. That's surrender with better words." Wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Everything he said was true. The peace talks were going nowhere because the thought humans were weak, defeated, ready to give up. "What happens now?" asked. Now, walked to the window and looked out at the captured ships. Now they learn that humans don't surrender, that every colony they take, every facility they occupy, might be another trap waiting for the right moment to spring. On his command ship, the commander sat in his quarters, mandibles clicking with rage and shame. He'd commanded fleets for 20 years. He'd conquered worlds. And now, one human had destroyed his entire battle group without breaking a sweat. High Inquisitor entered the room. The Inquisitor looked calm, almost thoughtful. "We underestimated them," said simply. "One human," hissed. "How can one human defeat 6 cruisers?" "Because he didn't fight like one human," replied. "He fought like a force of nature, like death itself." The Inquisitor walked to the window, looking at the mining colony. "We thought we knew what humans were capable of. We were wrong." Back on the colony, more ships arrived. Not just military vessels, but news ships, diplomatic cruisers, even merchant traders who'd heard the reports and wanted to see for themselves. The recording of the battle spread across the networks. Both human and alien species watched in awe as the tactical displays showed one man systematically destroying a battle group. The aliens who'd thought humanity was beaten, defeated, ready to collapse, suddenly had to reconsider everything. Commander watched as more ships arrived. "You've started something," she told. "Every alien species in the sector is going to see this. Some will fear us, some will respect us, but none of them will underestimate us again." "Good," said simply. A message came through on the command console. Read it and looked surprised. "Captain is requesting permission to board. She's on one of the diplomatic ships that just arrived." For the first time, his cold expression changed. Something like emotion flickered across his face. "Let her board." 20 minutes later, Captain entered the control room. She was older now, her hair showing gray. But her eyes were still sharp, still intelligent. She looked at the damage to the colony, at the displays showing the captured ships. "You figured it out," she said quietly. "You left enough clues," replied. "The beacon coordinates, the timing, even the way they set their trap. You knew they'd intercept any message, so you used them to point me exactly where I needed to go. I couldn't contact you directly. They're watching me constantly, waiting for me to lead them to other Reapers." She walked closer. "But I knew if anyone could survive long enough to activate Protocol Osiris, it would be you." "Why?" asked. "Why now after 3 years?" His expression hardened. "Because there are 46 more facilities with Protocol Osiris installed, and now they know about them. They're going to find them, neutralize them. We need to activate them first, turn them into forward bases for human operations." "You want to restart the war," Commander said. "I want to show them we never stopped fighting," corrected. "That surrender was never an option. That every time they think they've won, we'll remind them why humans survived when bigger, stronger species didn't." Looked at the displays one more time. The captured ships, the weapons platforms, the evidence of what one prepared human could do. "I'll need a ship," he said. "Already arranged," replied. "Fast, armed, and equipped with everything you need to reach the other Protocol Osiris sites." "I work alone." "I know," smiled slightly. "That's why you're perfect for this. The other Reapers were disbanded, scattered, but you're still out here, still fighting. And now every alien species is going to know your name." High Inquisitor stood on the bridge of ship, watching through the windows as a small, fast ship launched from the mining colony. This new ship. It turned toward the edge of the system and accelerated into FTL, disappearing in a flash of light. "He's leaving," said. "We could track him, send word ahead." "No," interrupted. "Let him go. Better yet, let everyone know where he's going. Let them try to stop him." "Why would you want that?" Turned away from the window. "Because we made a mistake, Commander. We thought we were hunting a man, but we were hunting something far more dangerous. We were hunting what humans become when you take everything from them and they refuse to die." The Inquisitor paused at the door. "We hunted death itself, and now death has been unleashed." 1 week later, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session. Representatives from 50 species gathered in the Great Chamber on the neutral station of New Hope. The topic: what to do about the human called death. The ambassador stood first. His 4 eyes were dark with rage. This human is a war criminal. He murdered 300 of our soldiers. He destroyed 6 military vessels. The Empire demands his immediate surrender for trial and execution. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some species nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. Representative Myra, the human diplomat, stood to respond. She was young for such an important position, but everyone knew her reputation. She'd negotiated 3 ceasefires during the war, saved thousands of lives through clever diplomacy. The Empire lured a single unarmed civilian into a trap using 6 warships and hundreds of soldiers, Myra said calmly. They violated 17 neutral space treaties to do so, and when their trap failed, when one human survived impossible odds, now they cry about justice. He is not a civilian, the ambassador shouted. He is a soldier, a killer, a weapon. He was a soldier, Myra corrected. Your own reports confirm that the human government officially disbanded his unit 3 years ago. He holds no rank. He receives no pay. By every legal definition, he is a civilian. A civilian who killed 300 soldiers. In self-defense, Myra pulled up holographic displays showing the battle recordings. At every point attempted to retreat, your forces blocked all exits. You cut off his air, his heat, his communications. By your own laws of warfare, he had the right to defend himself by any means necessary. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some species supported others quietly agreed with the humans. Most just wanted this problem to go away. Elder, the council's mediator, raised 3 of his tentacles for silence. He was from one of the oldest species in the galaxy, neutral in all conflicts. When he spoke, everyone listened. Let us be honest, said in his deep, rumbling voice. This is not really about one human. This is about fear. The Empire fears what this incident reveals, that humans are far more dangerous than we believed. Exactly, the ambassador said. They are dangerous. They must be controlled. Or, continued, perhaps the Empire should reconsider its policy of attacking human civilians. Did anyone else notice that before this incident was hiding, running, avoiding conflict? He only became dangerous when cornered with no other option. More murmurs. The other species were starting to see the bigger picture. In a private room off the main chamber, watched the proceedings on a screen. He wasn't at the station. Myra had advised him to stay away. Too many species wanted him dead or captured, but he could see everything through the broadcast. They're going to let you go, said. She was in his neural implant, analyzing everything. The council won't rule against you. Too many species are worried about what it means if they establish a precedent that self-defense is illegal. They won't accept that, replied. No, they won't, but they're alone in this. Even their allies are backing away. On the screen, Representative Myra played another recording. This one showed High Inquisitor speaking to. They had thought their communications were secure. They weren't. We made a mistake, his voice said in the recording. We thought we were hunting a man. We captured death itself. The chamber went silent. Every species representative stared at the recording. Those words from an inquisitor said everything. Looked at the ambassador. Your own inquisitor admits your forces underestimated a human in his natural environment. Warriors understand this. When you corner a predator, you must be prepared for it to fight with everything it has. That is not murder. That is nature. The vote came swiftly after that. The council ruled that it acted in legal self-defense. No charges would be filed. No extradition would occur. The Empire was formally censured for violating neutral space treaties. The ambassador stood in fury. This is not over. The Empire will have justice. The Empire will have peace, said firmly. Or the Empire will have war with every species on this council. Choose wisely. That night in a quiet bar on a civilian station 3 systems away, sat alone at a corner table. He wore civilian clothes now, nothing to mark him as anything special. Just another human in a galaxy full of them. The door opened. Captain walked in, followed by Lieutenant Ara. The officer looked nervous, uncomfortable, but she walked to his table anyway. "May we sit?" asked. Gestured to the empty chairs. Ara sat carefully, watching like he might explode at any moment. "You spared my ship," Ara said quietly. "You could have destroyed us all, but you gave us a chance to surrender. Why?" Took a drink before answering. "Because I'm not a monster. I don't kill just to kill. When the fighting stops, it stops." "Your recording is being studied in our military academies," Ara said. "Every cadet is required to watch it, to understand how badly we underestimated humanity. You've become our standard example of what happens when we act with arrogance." "Good," said. "Maybe next time you'll think twice before setting a trap." Ara nodded slowly. "I spoke with High Inquisitor before I came here. He wanted me to give you a message." She paused. "The Empire is formally withdrawing all bounties on human military personnel, past, present, and future. We're also proposing a prisoner exchange. All human captives for all captives." His eyes widened. That's everything we've been asking for in peace talks for 2 years." "Yes," Ara said. "One human in one battle accomplished what 2 years of diplomacy could not. He showed us that humanity will never surrender, never stop fighting, never be controlled. And he showed us that we cannot win a war against a species that turns every defeat into a weapon." She stood to leave, then paused. "Warriors recognize warriors. What you did was impressive, terrifying but impressive. The Empire would prefer to have humans as allies rather than enemies." After she left, looked at, "You started something. The other protocol Osiris sites are being activated, not as traps but as forward bases. Human colonists are returning to systems we abandoned. They aren't stopping them." "Because they're afraid," said simply. "Yes, afraid that every colony, every station, every facility might be another trap, that any human they attack might be another you," smiled. "Fear isn't peace, but it's a start." "What about the other Reapers?" asked. "The ones who survived the disbanding?" "They're coming back. Slowly, quietly. The government can't officially recognize them, but they're not stopping them either. Turns out having humans like you out there is good for diplomatic negotiations." Finished his drink and stood. "I'm not a diplomat. I'm not even really a soldier anymore." "Then what are you?" He looked at her, and for a moment his expression was distant. "I'm a reminder, a warning. I'm what happens when you think you've won, when you think humans are beaten. I'm the thing that appears in the dark and shows you that we never stopped fighting." He walked toward the door, then stopped. "Tell the others, the Reapers who are still out there, still hiding. Tell them it's safe to come home. Tell them their species needs them." "What about you?" asked. "Are you coming home?" Looked out at the stars through the station's windows. Somewhere out there, other humans were trapped, in danger, fighting impossible odds. "Not yet," he said. "There's still work to do." 2 months later, on a news broadcast, a reporter discussed the human situation. Behind her, images played of human colonies being re-established, of ships carefully avoiding human space, of the prisoner exchange in progress. "The incident at BR 447 has changed everything," the reporter said. "What we thought we knew about humanity was wrong. They are not defeated. They are not weak. They are adapting, waiting, preparing. And when cornered, they become something far more dangerous than we ever imagined." The image changed to show ship, recorded by long-range sensors, as it jumped to FTL near another abandoned human facility. The human known as, called the Ghost Soldier by some and Death by others, continues to travel between old human colonies. What he does there is unknown, but ships that try to follow him never return. Facilities that were thought to be harmless suddenly come alive with weapons. It's as if he's everywhere and nowhere at once. The reporter paused, looking directly at the camera. The question is no longer whether humanity can survive. The question is whether the rest of us can survive humanity. On a small ship moving through deep space, sat in the pilot's chair. His voice came through his implant. "We're approaching the next facility. Looks abandoned, just like the report said." "They're all abandoned until they're not," replied. "Run the scans, check for patrols." "All clear, no ships within 10 light years." Smiled slightly. "They're learning, good." "What happens when we've activated all the Protocol Osiris sites?" asked. "Then we find new sites, build new ones. Humanity survived this long because we prepare for every possibility. We never assume peace will last. We never assume we're safe." He looked out at the stars, at the endless dark full of species that once thought humans were easy prey. "They thought they could hunt us," said quietly. "They thought they could trap us, control us, defeat us. They were wrong. We're not the prey in this galaxy. We never were." The ship accelerated toward the distant facility, toward another trap waiting to be sprung, toward another reminder that humanity would never surrender. Death had arrived in the galaxy, and it wore a human face.